Adventures.
Hi, hello, welcome back. Here we are. We're having another collaboration video.
Yes.
We're always looking forward to these collaboration videos each month. After you get done checking out our video here, I want you to head over and check out Mel and Nettie at Mel and Nettie Living Free Zip Codeless, and go check out Rhonda and Jim at R&J's RV Adventures.
Yeah, see what they're doing.
Yes, exciting. See what they have to say. The topic this month is going to be traveling with pets.
What? We never travel with pets.
Yeah, right. You would think we would be the pet experts here.
Yeah.
Even though we're not.
We're not.
We're not pet professionals.
No.
Okay, even though we have owned dogs for a long time, we have
Yes.
traveled with dogs for a long time.
Yes. We started with 6 dogs.
Yeah, actually, we used to have 6 dogs that we traveled with. We had 5 Pomeranians and a pug.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course now we're just down to 2 dogs that are left.
2 Pomeranians.
2 Pomeranians.
They're left from that original 6.
From the original 6.
Yes.
So yes, we've got quite a bit of experience traveling with pets. Our dogs always travel everywhere we go. They love traveling. They're really good travel dogs, and they are well behaved during our travel days.
They get excited. They see certain things happening. They know it's a travel day, and they get so excited.
Yeah. They know as we start getting ready to packing up stuff, they know we're getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
So they look forward to that.
They do.
So we just figured we'd cover several different topics here on traveling with pets that you might need to know if you're out traveling around with pets.
Yeah. So it's like just kind of when you get to an area, kind of figure out, maybe look where the vets are. Sometimes if you're at a campground, it's listed inside the guide they hand you, but otherwise you may have to Google where's the closest vets. And so you have that information kind of readily if you need it. So you don't have to look for it last minute. You know where it is when you get there. So it's always a good plan.
You always make sure if something comes up that your dogs really need to get to a vet, you really want to know where that's at.
Yeah.
And making sure, a big thing, I know we were just in a town up in California, and there was a vet. It was supposedly a 24-hour vet. And we called them up, and they weren't open.
They weren't open.
We got a voicemail. So you really need to make sure you check that out, because you don't want it to be an emergency needing to get somewhere, and then all of a sudden you can't find a place to go.
Right. And we found a lot of vets right around near us were all for cows. Remember, it was all a lot of cows.
It was livestock vets.
Livestock, and they weren't for dogs.
They weren't for regular pets like dogs or cats and things like that.
So that was a learning experience for us.
So check to make sure you do that. A good way to check a lot of times is if you're in a campground and you check in, you get the little map rule book thing that when you check in, check the advertisements there. Sometimes there might be a veterinarian that's in the area that's advertised for that campground specific.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to check that.
Right. So next we're kind of looking at when you are getting ready to camp and go somewhere, you need to know the rules, right? So we used to have to call ahead because we did have so many dogs.
And we always did.
Yeah, we always asked, we have this many dogs. We want you to know. So, and we traveled mainly with 5 dogs. That was our big 5 dogs, and then 4 dogs for the last year that we had them. And so we always called ahead and said, is it okay? We have this many. They're little dogs, and so that is a thing you need to know right away. How comfortable are they with your dogs? We did encounter a place where we called and they said it was okay. And then we got there and they're like, well, it's $20 extra for your dog, the other 2 dogs. So you can have 3, but the other 2 are going to cost you $20 more each. Yeah. So we've had to do that before.
So what we have found we use Thousand Trails a lot. We've never had a problem with Thousand Trails. Usually they don't care how many dogs we have.
Except for that one in Virginia.
In particular. Yeah, it was in Virginia. I won't say the name of it. But yes.
And KOAs are amazing if you have pets. They don't care how many dogs you bring. We've never had trouble with them either, know? Yeah.
We used to stay at them quite a bit. Still, the next thing that we want to talk about is sticking under the rules for the pets. I think every single campground we've ever been requires your pets to be on a leash or be in your control at all times. When we take our dogs for a walk, they're always on a leash. Mm-hmm. We do have a pin that we put out in front. And that's the other thing. I know people either tether their dogs outside or, like us, put them in the pen. But along that same lines is you shouldn't just put your dogs out on a tether or put them in the pen and then come inside and leave them out there by themselves. You should be out there. You should be watching them. You never know what's going wrong.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to make sure you're maintaining control of your pets at all times.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, and then the barking too, being able to, if you're out there with them, you can control their barking. I
Yeah.
feel like when we're sitting out there and one of ours will start to bark, we can just get their attention and it gets them to stop. I think if you go inside, you don't have control over that anymore.
No.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't like a lot of barking.
Oh, I've seen people that be out with their dogs just barking away and they never say a word to them.
Yeah.
They just let them bark away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of annoying to a lot of the other people.
Yeah, it can be.
Another thing along with the pets, make sure you're picking up after your pets. That is a pet peeve of mine. I can't stand it when I go places and you see dog poo all over the place.
Right.
We always pick up after our pets.
And then, so kind of thinking about where your dogs stay when you're driving, kind of going to that, like some dogs, you might have to keep them in a kennel when you're driving, or, I've heard people putting them, if they have a fifth wheel or trailer, putting them in the back. For me, that would I'd be terrified if my babies weren't with me. But ours, we put a little dog bed in between our seats, and that's where they stay most of the time. I do have a spoiled dog. He stays in my lap a lot. He doesn't like to not be in my lap.
One thing our two dogs like, they're both 14 years old. They're brothers.
Yeah.
They're pretty old. All they pretty much do is sleep.
They do sleep a lot.
They sleep, eat, drink water, and do their business outside. Yes. So most of the time when we're traveling, they're sleeping. They sleep most of the day.
Yeah.
And they'll get up every once in a while, come back, and we put a water bowl under the table here. Cause we're in a Class A motorhome. And so they can walk back and get water when they want. And of course, we always do have to make stops. Regular stops to take the dogs for a walk. We typically will stop at rest areas and usually walk the dogs, and that's usually when we eat our lunch. We stop for the gas stations. Some of the gas stations, like Love's in particular, actually have little dog parks.
Yeah.
So we do take them in there. They usually, if it's a longer travel day, which for us is really not that long.
Right. We don't like to go over more than 250 miles.
Yeah, 250 miles is our max now.
Yeah,
usually.
We'll
easily stop at least twice during that time to walk the dogs, if not more.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes it is at a gas station. Sometimes it's at a rest area. We've had times when we've had a hard time finding them. It's been kind of challenging.
It's part of our planning. As we're planning, we start looking. I plan the routes out, which way we're going to go, and typically she'll get on the phone as we're driving and say, okay, there's a rest area coming up. It's 70 miles away or whatever it is.
Yes.
And we'll just make a plan to stop there.
Right. Yeah. So just kind of going along too with supplies. When you are planning your trips, like we just spent some time boondocking and
Quartzsite. We spent a total of 2 months. We spent at Quartzsite.
And I like my dogs to have fresh water, so we planned that out. We got fresh water for them that was just for them to drink. We made sure we had enough food, because sometimes you go into an area and you may not be able to find the type of food that your dog eats. And dogs are finicky, it can make them sick if they don't have their regular food. So when we get ready, we make sure that we get the food that they eat. We get, if they have treats, we make sure we have plenty of those on hand, and poop bags. If we see them for sale, we grab them, because
you just don't want to run out.
You don't want to run out.
Always got to have them.
You do. Make sure you're ready to go with your supplies. Especially if you're going into an area where it's more remote, you don't have as many shopping options. And Quartzsite is definitely one of those areas. I don't even think I saw our dog's food at any store there when we were there. Not one had their particular food. So I'm glad that we came prepared for that.
And the next biggie, as we're traveling in the RV, we get to places we like to go out and we like to do our own sightseeing. A lot of times the places we go to, national parks and some of them, or wherever it is, museum and things like that, they don't allow dogs. They don't allow pets unless they're service animals, and ours are not.
They're not. And we're not going to lie and say they are.
Yeah. So we usually leave our pets in the RV. Some of the things we do, if it's going to be a little warm, of course, I make sure that the air conditioners are running. And we also have a fan, and they stay in their little kennels when we're not here. They always have. They're 14 years old. They have their entire lives.
So, they don't know it any other way.
Yeah. So we'll put a fan, and usually we'll put a little small fan right in front of their kennels to make sure they're getting air.
And they're used to this because we worked 8 hours or plus a day. And so that's what they did when they've grown up that way. So they were in their kennels. I'd put little food in there for them because when we had the pug, we had to start feeding them in their kennels. And so
or the pug would eat everything.
He would eat everything. Yes. Oh my word. So we just have that's what they do. So when we go on longer times, we put food in there for them and a little water in there sometimes.
Yeah.
If we know it's going to be a little bit of a longer day like that.
And the other thing we like to do too is we leave some kind of little background noise, whether it's radio playing or usually the TV. We'll leave that on and leave it low. That way, at least they hear it and they see it, and I think it helps calm them down a little bit too.
And hopefully, it keeps other people from the outside hearing them if they do bark. Because our little one, he's lost his hearing and he does bark a little more than he should.
Yeah, he just randomly barks.
He does, yeah.
So, and I know other people out there, we don't have it. I know there's pet monitoring devices and stuff.
Yeah.
The one and the big one, I think, is the Waggle. We don't have it. Don't know that we'll get it. Not this late.
Yeah.
Don't know how much longer we'll have our 2 dogs, but we're hoping they're going to stay around.
Yes. Yeah, and we also have, like, for our little guy, he loves, when we go to hot places, he loves to swim. So...
Sorry about that. That was my cell phone. There's text message coming in.
So cute. Yeah, so we have when we go to places when it's really hot, so we have like it's a compact foldable swimming pool. So that's something also that our dogs enjoy. When we were in Texas when he went to school in Texas, every day I would walk him out to they had a dog park, and I'd fill that up with water and they would just lay in it after running around. So they do love that.
And it's an actual pet pool.
Yeah.
And it's foldable. I mean, it folds down into a nice little small size, so it fits down in the bay pretty easily.
Yeah, so that's
our dogs are spoiled. Very spoiled.
So. They're babies, though, you know. I just think when you are thinking about them, you think about what do you do for your children, right? So that's how we see our little dogs. They're like, we want to make sure they have everything they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I got one more thing we didn't say in here that I want to put out, but I'm not going to go into it too depth because we just covered it in our last video. If you want, you can go back and check that out. What to do in an emergency, medical emergency. Need to be thinking about that. What if you have a medical emergency and you're going to be away from the RV for a while?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the dogs? You got somebody to take care of? Have a backup plan. I've heard of many different things. One I didn't mention. If you're in an RV park, sometimes people give access to like the manager, to where you'll be able to call and say, "Hey, we got an emergency. We're not going to make it back. Can you check our dogs or whatever?" But there's things out there. That's one thing you just need to think about.
Yeah, because, you know, like I said, they are your babies.
Exactly.
You want to make sure they're safe and they're okay if something happens to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that's going to wrap up our video here for traveling with pets. Once again, once you're done here, make sure you go over and check out Mel Nettie Living Free Zip Codeless. Sorry, Mel and Nettie. I can't.
Tongue twister.
Yes. Mel Nettie Living Free Zip Codeless. Check out theirs over there, Mel and Nettie. Awesome people. And then also Rhonda and Jim. Go check out their video at R&J's RV Adventures. And I will have the links down below in the description. And until then, we'll see you next month at the next collaboration.
Yeah, and then go out there and find your adventure.